Coming up on ATV News, an update on the student government's vice presidential election.
How students gave back to their community on Martin Luther King Day.
How the renovation process is going on the communications building.
And we'll check in with the currently undefeated men's basketball team. Welcome to ATV News. I'm Megan Yoder.
And I'm Emily Jeffers.
Bundle up because another round of frigid temperatures is making their way back to D.C. The expected drop in degrees will come Monday as another cold front approaches, making it feel below zero at times with the wind chill. The high for most of the week is only expected to reach in the mid-teens.
The votes are in and student government has a new vice president. Let's go to Daniela with more.
Thank you for coming. The Board of Election would like to thank all campaigns, candidates, and voters for their spirited effort in selecting the next student government vice president. With that, the board is proud to announce, with 58% of the vote, the winner of tonight's election is Mr. Ray Bowman.
You heard it here at ATV News. Ray Bowman won the student government vice presidential elections with 58% of the vote. Stephen Hatterer had 38%, and the Massachusetts walk sign had 3 votes. Here's what Ray had to say after the results.
I'm so proud of my campaign staff for working so hard for me this week. I cannot believe the overwhelming support that I've gotten this week from so many people that I've never even met before this week. It's really amazing.
Now for a look at what is going on in the political world, here's Chelsea.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Smart. Let's get political. This week, President Obama launched a new initiative to combat sexual assault on college campuses. Obama pledged to empower victims through new outreach programs and to strengthen the criminal justice system. On Friday, the Supreme Court made a preliminary ruling that enabled religious organizations to be temporarily exempt from parts of the Affordable Health Care Act. The ruling follows Washington's announcement that more than 800,000 people have signed up for health care just this month. In other news, the Republican National Committee met this week to discuss key issues for the calendar for 2016. On Friday, the party gave near unanimous approval for a package of rules that would compress the president's nomination process in hopes of unifying the party through the upcoming presidential election. That's Chelsea Smart with ATV's Politics News.
Thanks, Chelsea. Coming up on ATV News, Cody takes a look at the stock market.
And now here's Cody with finance.
The market took a brutal beating this week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 318 points just on Friday. In total, the Dow dropped 558 points this week because China's economic numbers have been falling below expectations for the past several weeks. Why could this be a major concern? Well, for starters, this country owns almost half our nation's debt and manufactures almost everything in this country. And if this country shows any decline, the consequences could be severe. The S&P 500 also took a hard hit this week. The S&P was down 52 points. Wall Street hasn't seen the S&P have a week like this since 2012. The S&P did so poorly due to a sell-off in emerging market currencies and signs of weakness in China as well. However, it wasn't really too bad a week for the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq was down 47 points for the week. The Nasdaq didn't do so poorly because of stocks such as OpenText and Microsoft. OpenText shot up around 12% to $101 per share after the company reported upbeat earnings and announced a 2-for-1 stock split. Microsoft gained 3.7% to $37.09 per share after the company reported stronger than expected earnings as well. And speaking about earnings, making major headlines for earnings this week was Samsung, Procter & Gamble, and Netflix. Samsung missed earnings estimate this quarter. Samsung posted its first decline in quarterly profits in 2 years. Even though the company reported record revenues of around $55 billion, their profit was only around $7.7 billion. Last quarter, the company reported $9.4 billion in profits, meaning the company dropped 18% this quarter. Procter & Gamble's second quarter net income fell 16%, but adjusted earnings beat Wall Street's expectations. Earnings were around $1.21 per share, a penny above expectations that analysts predicted. However, Procter & Gamble's revenue rose less than 1% to $22.20 billion short of the $22 billion analysts expected this quarter. Netflix jumped over 15% on earnings news, blowing away analyst expectations. Analysts predicted that Netflix was going to report around $1.17 billion in revenue, earnings were going to be around 66 cents per share, and they were going to add around a total of 2 million new subscribers for the last half of 2013. However, Netflix defied most of the analysts' expectations and reported $1.18 billion in revenue, had earnings were around 79 cents per share, and added over 2.3 million new subscribers for this quarter. Well, there you have it. I'm Cody Cohen. And that has been your weekly financial update, bringing Wall Street to AU.
Millions of Gmail users were not able to access their account for a short period of time on Friday. According to Google, a bug within the internal software caused the blackout. The bug was fixed a short while after, and Google offered an apology to the affected users.
Now, let's go to Alex with a look at how students honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this past week.
The Martin Luther King Jr. Week of 2014 featured several events, including a day of community service, a gospel choir concert, and a speech by Washington College of Law professor Perry Wallace. Professor Wallace, the first African-American varsity athlete to be awarded an athletic scholarship in the Southeastern Conference, shared his experience with the AU students.
Be careful what you wish for. Going into a white environment out of segregation was nothing less than a fundamental shock. Even when you prepared for it, there's nothing like it if you spent your life in segregation.
The AU Gospel Choir performed in the K Spiritual Life Center with songs about civil rights featuring Professor Celestia Sledge.
Thanks, Alex. Former Virginia Governor Robert McDonnell and his wife Maureen were indicted this week on corruption charges. The two are accused of accepting over $130,000, accepting money for golf outing trips, and going on designer clothes shopping spree. The couple said they were not guilty and will remain free until their new trial is set on July 28th.
As part of a new spending bill, Congress cut funding in half for developmental aid in Afghanistan and prevented U.S. military from beginning new infrastructure projects. According to a White House spokeswoman, the U.S. government will continue to be flexible with assistance for Afghanistan, but many see the cuts as the new beginning of reductions in U.S. involvement in the country.
And now here's Eric with sports.
The NFL is gearing up for its biggest game of the year. Super Bowl 48 is next weekend at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, just outside of New York City. The forecast is calling for temperatures in the high 20s to low 30s at kickoff with possible snow showers. The Broncos and Seahawks face up at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. In basketball, the Knicks shook off a 5-game losing streak against the Charlotte Bobcats, winning 125-96. Carmelo Anthony set a record for the team by scoring 62 points in the game, the most points ever scored in a game at Madison Square Garden. And right here at home, the Eagles are leading the Patriot League, going undefeated in the conference. The next game is this Wednesday at 7:30 in Bender Arena when they take on Navy. Go Eagles! In hockey, the Washington Capitals are stuck in a 7-game losing streak. Their latest loss was at the hands of the New Jersey Devils last Friday night. Not many stories are coming out of the NHL as they get ready for their Olympic break. Opening games at the Olympics in Sochi, Russia are scheduled for February 7th, and the games will last until the 23rd. There are security concerns after a number of threats were made by terrorist groups. Sochi is in the unstable Caucasus region, and security has been massively increased at the event to discourage any unrest. The U.S. has offered its help to Russia to ensure that the games are safe from terrorist attacks. For ATV Sports News, I'm Eric Higas.
Cut. Awesome.
Thanks, Eric. Coming up next, Quincy and Jalen bring us the entertainment scoop from Hollywood. Charlotte updates us on the McKinley Building, and Ben covers news from around the world.
Let's go to entertainment with Quincy and Jalen.
Hi, I'm Quincy Tickner.
And I'm Jalen Chapman, and this is ATV News Entertainment.
Justin Bieber was arrested last Thursday in Miami by the police after drag racing, resisting arrest, and driving with an expired license while being under the influence. He was pulled over and arrested in the early morning and was reported to have slow and deliberate movements as he was uncooperative with law enforcement. His mugshot has gone viral, where he surprisingly is smiling despite the gravity of his actions. This will be the most recent of the singer's run-ins with the law. Just last week, he was accused of vandalizing a neighbor's home with eggs and has enlisted the legal counsel of Roy Black, a prominent lawyer in Florida and also husband to local celebrity Leah Black, a Real Housewives of Miami. Speaking of Bravo's main programming, Real Housewife of New Jersey, Teresa Giudice, has been giving some reprieve concerning her recent legal troubles. Her $1.6 million home is no longer in danger of being sold.
Along with being indicted on 41 counts of fraud, Giudice has also been in bankruptcy court. Over the past few months, she's made multiple television appearances to do damage control. Beyoncé has been booked for a number of high-profile performances, including the First Lady's birthday and reportedly for the Grammys this Sunday. She and her husband, Jay-Z, along with their newly 2-year-old daughter, Blue Ivy Carter, were invited as guests, but the Drunken Love songstress was a featured performer along with John Legend as well. Knowles is supposed to be opening the Grammys along with Jay-Z this weekend. Control magazine alleges that both the singer and the organization are trying to keep the spectacle a secret. It's hoped that Beyoncé performs a variety of songs from her surprise, critically and commercially acclaimed self-titled album. You can catch the Grammys this Sunday, January 26th at 7 on CBS. And this is Jalen Chapman for ATV News Entertainment.
Now let's go to Charlotte with an update on the new School of Communications building.
If the students aren't pushing the school, no one is going to be pushing the school.
Matteo Garofalo, a sophomore in Kogod, isn't the only AU student frustrated that McKinley isn't finished.
It's definitely bothering some of my friends who are in that program. They kind of wish it was done so they could be able to actually use the building, like during their time in AU.
Ever since I got here, there was a consistent opinion, or not opinion, a statement by the administration that this building would be ready before the beginning of the next semesters.
Students are definitely concerned about the progress of McKinley, but the university is constantly providing construction updates through their website and giving them events to look forward to this coming spring.
When we plan SOC week for this spring, all those spaces will be open, so it'll be exciting to host all of our events in new spaces instead of trying to use holding an SOC Spirit event, but like in SIS just because they have the space. So it'll be cool just to have it all under one roof.
Charlotte Bergman, ATV News.
A rare snowy owl has been spotted multiple times this week in D.C. Residents throughout the city have spotted the owl from all over, from Reagan Airport to areas downtown, and even perched atop an awning at the Washington Post. The birds usually live in areas with frigid temperatures, and with last week's bitterly cold, made himself feel right at home.
The U.S. is imposing stricter regulations on the types of projects funded by the World Bank. The U.S. government recently passed a measure that prevents support of any hydroelectric projects and requires independent evaluation of any new projects. These measures disrupt plans to build hydroelectric dams by World Bank President Jim Yong Kim.
And now here's Ben with World News.
I'm Benjamin Fall, and this is ATV World News. 9 people were killed during anti-government marches on Saturday, while thousands rallied in support of the army-led authorities, underlining Egypt's volatile political fissures 3 years after the fall of autocrat President Hosni Mubarak. Security forces lobbed tear gas, and some fired automatic weapons in the air to try to prevent demonstrators opposed to the government from reaching Tahrir Square. The leader of Thailand's opposition protests, who has vowed to disrupt the February 2nd elections, has written to U.S. President Barack Obama telling him that the demonstrators' efforts to topple the government are pro-democracy. Suthet Thogsaban says his movement was not conducting an anti-democratic uprising. President Hamid Karzai says if the United States wants to leave Afghanistan, it can do it even today, may God be with him. But he will not back down from his conditions to sign a key security pact with Washington that would allow American forces to stay in the country beyond 2014. This has been ATV World News with Benjamin Fall.
Thanks, Ben. Next up on ATV News, we'll take a look at the men's basketball team and the weather forecast for this week.
The men's basketball team has been on an undefeated streak in the Patriots League, and since the story was filed, they are now up to 8-0 in their division.
On Wednesday, January 22nd, Bender Arena was the place to be as both undefeated American and Boston University battled out to see who would remain on top.
Excitement and anticipation were what many spectators were feeling inside the arena. Going into the game, the AU Eagles and BU Terriers had a 6-0 winning streak in their league and were both looking for a 7th win to keep the undefeated streak going. The Eagles started off the game with possession of the ball, but it was BU who got the first points on the board. Towards the middle of the first half, AU regained possession of the ball and the offense could not be stopped, which resulted in AU taking the lead. Multiple shots made from the 3-point line helped secure the Eagles' lead. The Terriers then regained possession of the ball but went into halftime 10 points behind the Eagles, with the halftime score 37-27.
I think the crowd's really made a difference, and we're looking strong.
I think the game's going very well. The boys are playing well. I mean, Boston's kind of aggressive, but I think we're doing great.
The Eagles remained in the lead during the second half and for the rest of the game to secure the win over BU. Junior Darius Gardner and sophomore Jesse Reed were the top scorers of the night for AU and were a big contribution to the win.
The AU men's basketball team remains undefeated in the Patriots League with the final score of Wednesday night's game, 86-56. Reporting for ATV News, I'm Emily Jeffers.
According to a report by the White Fence Index, internet costs in D.C. are higher than in any other city. There appears to be no simple explanation for the phenomenon, but one explanation may be that higher than average broadband speed contributes to the increased cost.
The metro lines have been running slower than usual for the past few weeks. Constructions on the red, orange, blue, green, and yellow lines have been taking place and causing riders to wait longer to get to their destinations. Train operations have ranged from 15 to 20 minutes.
Now over to Alex with a look at this week's forecast.
Good morning, American University. Along with today's cold temperatures, expect some snow this afternoon. This cold spell will continue into Sunday with a high of 30 and then warm up to a high of 43 on Monday, only to drop down again to 20 on Tuesday. The sun will be shining on Wednesday, but the temperature is still expected to be mid-20s with a high in the upper 30s, which will continue on to Thursday and Friday. Expect some more low temperatures and snow showers again next Saturday. This has been Alex Mazzarisi with the weather.
So Emily, what did you do with your day off earlier this week?
I stayed inside, caught up on some homework, and watched some movies. What about you?
Way to stay warm. I actually went outside in the cold and went sledding for the first time since coming to college. So that was interesting. We used cardboard and container lids to go down the hill. So
that sounds fun.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future this week we'll have some more snow.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you for tuning in to ATV News. I'm Emily Jeffers.
And I'm Megan Yoder. Have a great day.